All right. Hopefully I don't freeze up while I do this. Hello, thank you for coming today. My name is Katie Collins-Zerke. I'm the Executive Director at Accessible Resources for Independence, one of the 7 Maryland Centers for Independent Living. I want to say thank you so much for coming to join us today. We are going to be talking about apprenticeship programs in Maryland. This show is presented by the Maryland Centers for Independent Living. It's Independence Amplified Maryland, and we have topics that are of interest to people in the disability community in Maryland and beyond. Just a few housekeeping rules. If you could please keep your yourself muted for the duration of the call. At the end, we'll have time for questions. It's great if you can utilize the chat option, but if you can't utilize that, we can you can definitely do your question live at the end. Also, if you have any things that you would like to add during the programming, community activities, or things that you have going on, there'll be an opportunity at the end to provide that and share with the rest of the people on the call, or you can also put them in the chat. So this program is being recorded. So if you do not want to have your face on camera, you can turn off your camera. You can also change your name if you'd like. But we do record these because they are going to live in perpetuity on YouTube. I think that is it. So without further ado, I'm going to present Jeffrey Smith. He's with the Office of Workforce. Oh, I'm going to get this wrong. Office of Workforce Development. He's the Program Manager for Apprenticeships and Training at the Department of Labor. And he's going to talk to us today about apprenticeships. So welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate that introduction. It's a pleasure for me to be with each and every one of you. We'll be spending some time this afternoon talking about registered apprenticeships, the benefits that they offer both for job seekers as well as for businesses. And we'll be discussing in some level of detail the mechanics of how apprenticeships are structured, and some of the industries and occupations that individuals can access and become trained in by utilizing the registered apprenticeship model. With that, I believe we have a formal presentation that I will be walking you through, which should appear on your screen shortly.
What is this about?
Hi, Chioki. We're going to be talking about apprenticeships today, and I've asked everyone to stay on mute until the end of the program, okay?
Okay.
Just a second, I'm trying to find out. There we go. Share screen. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. So again, we are discussing registered apprenticeships here in the state of Maryland. Next slide, please. Officially, apprenticeship is an earn and learn strategy that combines on-the-job training with related classroom-based instruction. What that allows for is a blending of both the practical and theoretical aspects of training for highly skilled occupations. Literally in that on-the-job component, the apprentice is learning while they are doing. They are learning from a experienced supervisor / mentor how to learn what they do to do a job on a day-to-day basis. The related instruction is really learning the theory behind the occupation, or why we do what we do when we are on the job. Apprenticeship programs are sponsored voluntarily by a wide array of organizations. These include individual employers. They can include employer associations. They can include joint labor management organizations, or they could be some sort of other workforce intermediary. Next slide, please. So when we talk about apprenticeship, the two basic components.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. Okay.
There we go.
We're here. The two basic components, as I noted, are on-the-job training and related instruction. For our purposes in Maryland, we define the on-the-job training as consisting of at least 2,000 hours per year of the apprenticeship program. That means 2,000 hours of paid full-time W-2 employment. Apprenticeships can be as short as 1 year to a maximum of 4 to 5 years, depending upon the complexity of the occupation itself. That on-the-job training takes place at the work site or sites the employer may work at. And as I noted, it is under the direction of a highly skilled journey person. That journey person is strictly someone who is formally proficient in whatever occupation is being apprenticed. Concurrent with that, their related instruction is occurring. That related instruction for our purposes must be a minimum of 144 hours of related instruction per year of the apprenticeship. That related instruction can be delivered in a number of different ways. It can be delivered in a more traditional classroom-based setting, say at a community college. It could be delivered through a virtual online learning management system. For instance, a number of our manufacturing sponsors utilize an online learning management system called Tooling U, which has individual training modules for various aspects of the manufacturing industry. It could come from in-house instruction provided directly by the employer themselves. Next slide, please. There are 3 basic structures that you'll see for apprenticeship. The most traditional is what we refer to as a time-based approach. This method measures skill acquisition through the individual apprentice's completion of at least those 2,000 hours of on-the-job training per year as described in the work process schedule. So what will occur is the apprentice will be going through and they will be doing on-the-job training. The employer is keeping track of how many hours they work, and it is anticipated that they would take a certain number of hours to be able to become fully proficient within a trade. There is another model called the competency-based approach, and that really is a method that is used to measure skill acquisition through the individual apprentice's successful demonstration of acquired skills and knowledge. And then that's verified by that supervisor/mentor who observes the apprentice performing that work process and confirms that they have mastered it. And not terribly surprisingly, given the definition of the word hybrid, a hybrid approach is a fusion of both of those 2 approaches. Next slide. So the 5 basic components that build an apprenticeship. The foundation stone for all apprenticeship is business involvement. If you do not have a business involvement, you do not have an employer that is hiring and paying an individual to serve and learn as an apprentice. Layered onto that, again, you have that structured on-the-job training. This allows an employer to grow their own employees, teach them what they want them to know, how they want them to conduct a particular process on the job, so that they are fully trained the way that employer wants them to be trained. Connected to that, they're getting the benefit of that related instruction, that technical knowledge. 2 pieces we haven't spoken about yet are the 2 at the bottom: rewards for skills gained and national occupational credential. So rewards for skills gained means that as an apprentice moves and progresses through their program, they will get a progressively higher wage as their knowledge and proficiency in the occupation increase. So we'll just use the example of the occupation of electrician. For this example, we will say that a fully qualified electrician would make $30 an hour as their starting rate. If I were to come in as a day 1 apprentice, obviously I don't have the level of knowledge that a fully proficient electrician would have to justify my being paid $30 an hour. I will be paid some percentage of that when I start. For this example, we'll say that's 50%, or I would make $15 an hour as a day 1 apprentice. However, at certain milestones through the program, typically every 1,000 hours or so, there will be a progressive wage bump where I might go after the first 1,000 hours, I'll go from 50% to 55%. When I get to my second 1,000 hours, 55 to 60, and so forth, with the anticipation that as I progress through the program, my wage level will progressively increase also, up to the point that when I complete the program and considered fully proficient as an electrician in my own right, I will be moving to that 100% or $30 an hour rate. At that same time, that's when I'm getting that national occupational credential. This credential says that I have fully qualified for the occupation I apprenticed in. It is transferable, so I can get an apprentice journey worker's license and credential here in Maryland for the occupation of electrician. I could go and work in California. I would not be required to go through a California electrician apprenticeship program because I've already demonstrated my level of knowledge through the Maryland program. Next slide, please. So what are the benefits of registered apprenticeship? There are many. For business and industry, the benefits are obviously it allows businesses to create highly skilled employees. It allows them to build a pipeline of skilled labor coming into their organization. Apprenticeships are a great tool for increasing retention. Federal statistics available through the U.S. Department of Labor show that a full 94% of all apprentices continued to work with the employer they apprenticed with for at least 1 year after their apprenticeship has been completed. Apprenticeship is a great recruitment tool. Specifically, it's very great in helping to attract women, minorities, veterans, and other individuals who might not historically have access to a particular trade or occupation or industry. Apprenticeships also allow individual businesses to access federal and state resources to help support that process. Last but certainly not least, apprenticeships are helping those businesses to fill vacant positions that they need to fill in order to be fully upskilled and upstaffed. For the apprentices, well, they're getting that earn and learn model. They're getting the benefits of being paid while they are learning a trade, the benefits of being paid and having, in most cases, their education paid for by the employer while they are being paid to learn the occupation. In many cases, the apprentice is getting college credit and also certifications. And ultimately, what the apprentices are doing, they're acquiring the skills that leads them onto a sustainable and attractive career pathway. Our educational institutions, they benefit as well. It allows them to have a closer relationship with industry. Our educational institutions also oftentimes will devise articulation agreements between apprenticeship programs and that particular college. Thereby, the apprentice is able to get credit for the on-the-job learning hours. And ultimately, apprenticeships add to the increases in enrollment that credit classes would have with apprentices being in those classes. Next slide, please. So again, the benefits for the apprentices themselves, they're getting that hands-on career training. They're getting that education, that technical knowledge, potential to be earning college credits, all while that education is typically paid for by the employer. They're getting that long-term career and greater earning potential. Federal statistics note that an individual who went through and completed an apprenticeship program typically earns $300,000 more during their full span of their careers. Apprenticeships have little to no educational debt associated with them. And again, you're getting that valuable national credential. Next slide. So the basic requirements for apprenticeship are really structured as this. I will preface this by saying individual program requirements may vary, but these are the basics. Typically, apprenticeships are for individuals 18 years or older who meet program-specific qualifications. However, we do have some programs that allow individuals who are 16 years or older to become registered apprentices, provided they have parental or guardian consent. The apprentice must be physically able to perform the required tasks associated with the occupation, and they must also have access to reliable transportation. Most, but not all of our programs do require a high school diploma, either by means of a high school graduation or a GED, although we do have some programs that do not require a high school diploma upon entry, but do ask that the apprentice complete it by the time they complete their apprenticeship program. Some programs may have specific tests in math and English, but again, that can vary. Next slide, please. So just to give you a sense of the scope of apprenticeship within the state of Maryland, we hit the largest number of registered apprentices ever in the history of the state of Maryland last November. Indeed, we hit just over 11,300 apprentices. That represented almost 40% growth in the number of apprentices since 2015. And we typically have but anywhere between 1,000 and 1,300 apprenticeship completers during any given calendar year. Next slide. This is a sampling of just some of the industries and occupations that we have available through apprenticeship. Obviously, these are all the ones that we consider what are called non-traditional industries or occupations. And what we mean by that is anything other than the construction trades. Construction trades have long been associated with registered apprenticeship. And indeed, they do represent a sizable majority of the apprentices that we have. But we have done a great deal in Maryland to try and diversify the industries and occupations that can be available through apprenticeship. And you will now see that we have occupations in the healthcare industry, in the information technology industry, biotechnology, emergency management, transportation and logistics. We have them in the retail trades. We have them in manufacturing, hospitality, tourism. There are public sector apprentices with government agencies and a host of others. Next slide. So we have an apprenticeship locator. This is actually available at our website, which is www.mdapprenticeship.com. This locator allows any individual to search for available apprenticeship opportunities through a number of search mechanisms. One, an individual can search to see what apprenticeships are available within a particular county or set of counties. An individual can also do a search to see what occupations might be available through apprenticeship. It also can allow someone to see what industries are accessible via apprenticeship. We have probably right now about 100 of our sponsors are available and listed on the locator site. And if we go to the next screen, you can see a screenshot of what the locator page looks like. When someone goes to the locator page, they will see this. It allows them, again, to sort of set their search parameters of what they'd like to look at, what the range is, whether maybe they live in Montgomery County and they want to do a search to see what's available just in their home county, or they may want to do something they really are interested in IT, what's available in IT, and they can do that type of search. Next slide, please. And that concludes the formal presentation, but I did want to end with a success story that we had related to serving an individual facing a disability. This individual was very, very interested in becoming connected to the building trades, specifically as an electrician. And the individual had a hearing loss, and obviously that he felt it made it challenging for him to be able to access the profession. But we worked collaboratively with a number of our sponsors, and one in particular we found where they were able to allow that individual to be hired as an apprentice with an electrical contractor that pretty much exclusively did residential work. And that allowed for the apprentice to be in an environment where he's been able to thrive as an apprentice. And indeed, I believe he is about to complete his program and become a journey person electrician. So there are definitely tools that we can utilize to try and help any individual to access apprenticeship. And indeed, we want to do that. We've made a great effort over the past 5 years to diversify, if you will, the faces of apprenticeship in terms of having larger numbers of females, larger numbers of individuals of color, a lot more individuals with disabilities being able to access apprenticeship. And we spend a great deal of time on that. And I know in particular, Jane Sinclair, who was scheduled to speak with you, she's really our expert in that area, and she's devoted a great deal of time and energy into helping eliminate and remove barriers thereby allowing individuals with disabilities to be able to access occupations that are apprenticeable. With that, I will stop and turn it back over to our hosts and see if there are any questions that anybody might have today.
Thank you, Jeff. And I didn't prepare you for this, so if you're unprepared to speak about it, that's okay. But could you talk a little bit about the Youth Apprenticeship Program?
Of course, I'm happy to do that.
Great.
Our youth apprenticeship program is available presently in 19 of Maryland's 24 local public school systems, and it is structured to be available for juniors and seniors in those school systems to be able to be youth apprentices. The way the program is structured, we have a variety of individual employers who have agreed to participate in the program. We have over 200 of them now, and they're in a variety of different industries. Youth apprentice candidates will have the opportunity to look through the openings that are available for their particular county, apply for those openings, and be able to be considered for employment as a youth apprentice by that employer. The employer will interview the candidates they'd like and identify which one or ones they'd like to hire. At that point, then the youth apprentice will be working for no fewer than 450 hours by the completion of their program and earning no less than minimum wage. They're getting 3 credits for their on-the-job learning, that paid learning from their home school system. They are also getting 1 credit for related instruction that is associated with their occupation. Typically, that related instruction will be coming either from the school system itself through a career and technical education course, or it could be coming directly from an apprenticeship sponsor, or it could be coming from coursework at a community college. During the last school year, the school year ended in spring of 2020, we had a total of 74 youth apprentices statewide. The program just began in the 2016 school year, so that was a pretty significant amount of growth. We went from having 11 to 74 in that span of time. And we are hopeful that we'll actually meet and exceed that number this year, even in spite of the pandemic. Youth apprenticeship is a great on-ramp to registered programs. Indeed, we have probably about 35% of all of our youth apprentices are dual enrolled in the adult registered apprenticeship program, which is fabulous because that means they're already working for the employer they're going to be apprenticed with. They're already accruing hours for their registered program. Once they graduate high school, they're still working for the same employer, but now they're working for them full time as a registered apprentice. So that's really the gold standard in terms of finding that direct accessibility to a registered program. And we're really excited about the growth we've seen in youth apprenticeship and where it's come from. And just the fact that we have 19 of the state's 24 school systems that are involved, we're very pleased with that. And we're consistently conducting outreach to the remaining systems in the hopes that they will also sign into the program.
Great. It's a lot you guys have going on. I know that I don't know. I think that this is a great option for people with disabilities who are looking to get into some kind of long-term career. And I love the idea that youth can enter, in their last years of school and get a head start. So I think both of those programs are really great. So I'll get into some questions here. Lorna May asked, does the person have to be in college?
For registered apprenticeship, no. They do not need to be in college. Typically what will happen is someone will directly apply to the registered apprenticeship program to be considered to become an apprentice. They will apply to that program. They will then interview with an employer or an employer associated with that program in the hopes of being hired. Once the apprentice becomes registered, they may very well be taking coursework at a college, because a lot of our registered apprenticeship programs, that related instruction comes from coursework available at community colleges. So no, they do not need to be enrolled in college. That is not a requirement, but again, oftentimes they will become enrolled in coursework because that's where the related instruction for that particular program comes from.
Wonderful. If a high schooler needs to complete other requirements for a diploma, math, science, etc., what options are available to allow the student to complete on time while still completing their apprenticeship?
This one's one I actually have firsthand knowledge of, as I have a senior in high school that's right across the hall from me and across from my office here at home. And when individuals get to be juniors, particularly seniors, a lot of the time they have gaps in their schedule because they've completed many things. So for instance, with my son, he only has to take 2 courses in the mornings and his afternoons are open. So he is doing his math course and his English course in the morning, and his afternoon is available for other opportunities. And that's generally the case with pretty much all of the folks that are involved in youth apprenticeship. Could be that students, maybe if their school system has an A day, B day schedule, they only need to go in on A days. So their B days are completely free. What will happen is once a student is connected to a business and the business wants to hire them, then they will work collaboratively with the coordinator at the school system to make those scheduling adjustments. You might see oftentimes the student will work, say 6 in the morning to 11 in the morning at their youth apprenticeship site, and then they'll proceed to go to school in the afternoon. Or they'll flip that. They go to school in the morning, and then in the afternoon, they're going to their youth apprenticeship position. Or if they only need to go into school Monday, Tuesday, that means Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are completely available for them to be involved in youth apprenticeship. So there is that scheduling flexibility, and that's really where the school system comes into play to make sure that they're able to harmonize what the student needs for their requirements with openings in their schedule to accommodate the youth apprenticeship opportunity.
Great. I believe Beth Wiseman has a question. Beth, did you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, I did unmute myself. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My question is about seniors. A number of years ago, I did have a program, a meeting entitled a Forum for Seniors Seeking Employment. One of the speakers I had was from the Workforce Development. My question is, if I had a similar program, if I had a program like this again, would someone from the Workforce Development be able to talk about these programs? Because I saw, for instance, when you showed the job availability programs, healthcare was one of them. And seniors work so much in healthcare that I think that there might be an interest for this. The Workforce Development talked mostly about computers, and I don't know how much of an interest my seniors had on that. But certainly the healthcare sector would be very interesting to them. So my question again is, if I had a similar program and would someone from the Workforce Development be able to talk about the kinds of things you were talking about? Thank you for taking my question.
Yes, I'll answer on 2 ways. First, I can certainly speak to my team with Registered Apprenticeship. We are always looking for opportunities to do direct outreach to any organizations or individuals that are interested in learning more about apprenticeship. So absolutely. And I would just suggest that Katie would be, I'm sure Katie, if you don't mind, if you'd be able to provide Beth with my email, we could make a direct connection for the apprenticeship piece. With regards to a broader sort of workforce development connection, I would be happy to assist you in connecting you with someone with your local American Job Center, depending upon where you are operating. And someone could come in from your local workforce area to provide you with a broader, a little more general perspective on post-educational career opportunities that would be available beyond just apprenticeship.
Great. And Beth, I put his information in the chat, but if you need it in another way, just let me know. Next question, is it possible to take part in an apprenticeship remotely, specifically digital marketing?
It depends on the nature of the position. Generally, obviously, as you know, in some of the positions that you're dealing with, there may be some elements of that, but the important thing about the apprenticeship is that there needs to be full-time paid employment. If that employment is being conducted there needs to be some direct connection that the apprentice is learning and directly linked to their supervisor / mentor. Those typically are going to be in person. Even in the IT occupations, they're generally people who are going to an office space to work, but obviously they may be interfacing remotely with a lot of their clients.
Great. Do we have other questions regarding the apprenticeship program? Chioki?
Yes. Do they work with people with learning disabilities too?
Anyone, we work with anyone who has an interest potentially in being involved with a registered apprenticeship position. So any individual that has an interest, we would encourage them to reach out and actually contact the program or programs they're interested in to find out more information about how they can be connected to them.
Okay, and
I have another
full-time-
one also.
Okay.
By any chance, have you ever worked with Workforce Technology Center before?
I have not specifically, no.
Under doors?
We work very closely with doors. Yes, we do work closely with doors. I know Jane, our navigator who was scheduled to speak with you, she is in regular contact with doors. And we actually partner with them on something called the Apprenticeship Think Tank. And this is really a collaboration between doors and the Department of Labor and other players to really strategize about ways that we can broaden access to apprenticeship for individuals with disabilities.
Great, thank you. Another question says, is full-time work required?
For registered apprenticeship, yes, registered apprenticeship is full-time W-2 paid employment. That's the nature of how it is structured, and then an individual, it is designed to be a full-time occupation, a full-time career, so that the individual is learning. Youth apprenticeship, obviously, that is a different model in that the participants are still juniors and seniors in high school, so they aren't necessarily, they're certainly not working full-time during the school year. However, they could be working full-time during summer break periods, depending upon, and other break periods, depending upon what the business needs and what the student is available to do.
How often are apprenticeships available?
Apprenticeship openings are always available. If you go to the, as I mentioned, you go to the locator, that will give you a sense of programs that we have that are actively seeking new apprentices. So there is always an opportunity to apply for apprenticeship. A lot of times they are linked to a certain extent to school years because, again, the instruction is coming during a calendar year, but really apprenticeships are open for people to start at any point in time.
Okay.
All these questions, it's good. So another question is, do professional apprenticeships register online as well, i.e. psychology?
We to date, we do not have any apprenticeships with psychology. Within the healthcare realm, we do have a lot of different occupations, but that is not one. We do have one that has some relation. We actually have a sponsor that has a program for the position of direct support professional. And these are individuals that are working with nonprofit organizations that provide services to individuals with behavioral or developmental disabilities. So we do have that, and there are certainly elements of some psychology associated with the DSP occupation.
Okay. Other questions? I think I got them all in the chat. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I have another question too, Kate.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Have you ever worked with at these special ed schools, like you're familiar with Phillips School of Contemporary Education in Laurel?
I have not. Again, I have not personally. We work very closely with all of the K through 12 K through 12 local school systems and the programs that they offer. I know we've had a number of different outreach opportunities with Prince George's County Public Schools. They are one of the school systems that is engaged with youth apprenticeship. So we definitely do work with the school systems across the board. But that particular program, I myself have not worked with.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Give me a few pointers in how I could decide whether apprenticeships are right for me as opposed to college?
I think a lot of it depends upon what the person is motivated by, what interests them. Oftentimes someone may, they find traditional schooling to be somewhat tedious, but they really like working with their hands. And individuals like that, I mean, they get connected to something. The way they are connected to something that interests them is different. There is no better or worse pathway. All pathways in my mind are equal because they need to really make sense for the individual that will be walking that path.
Thank you.
But I think what I hear a lot from individuals who have become apprentices is that they said they didn't really like the book learning, but they really liked working with their hands in some way. And once they were connected with an opportunity that allowed for that, they thrived. I hear.
All right, another question came in. Two questions. If full-time work is required, how is an apprenticeship a feasible option for a disabled individual who cannot work full-time hours?
Again, I mean, that's one of the, I think there are ways that we can work with that. I do know that, as I said, there are a number of examples of individuals who do have disabilities who are working. We actually have one of our apprenticeship programs for the occupation of plumber. They actually have an American Sign Language individual in all of the classes to be able to sign for the deaf apprentice in that class to allow them to become engaged and connected with that occupation. But again, really generally, I mean, the requirement in state and federal law is that there must be that 2,000 hours of on-the-job learning that is paid work experience.
Thank you. Someone is asking if you can give further examples of apprenticeships and trades available.
Sure.
I know you had a slide of some of them.
Sure. I'll just give you I'll go through the construction ones first. We have obviously plumbing, plumber, carpenter, HVAC, sheet metal worker, sprinkler fitter, iron worker, sheet metal worker, glazier, that's someone who installs windows, finisher, that's someone who would be doing painting, stonemason. That sort of gives you the full scope of what you'll see in the construction trades. Then if you go into manufacturing, you could have someone working as a machinist, someone that's working as a tool and die maker, someone that's working in quality control. In healthcare, we have pharmacy technician, surgical technologist, licensed practical nurse, patient care technician, central sterile processing technician. We have occupations in biotech. We have cybersecurity professionals. We have network engineers. Let's see what else. I'm trying to give you as broad a perspective. We have CDL truck driver. We have a couple different programs that allow someone to apprentice and become a truck driver. We have a program actually on the Eastern Shore where someone is learning, the apprentices learn to become shipwrights, or individuals who build ships. So there's really a lot out there. We have we have digital and social media. That's more in the IT realm. I'm trying to hit the ones that I think would be of interest to everybody the most. And I think I mentioned the biotech ones already, so I'm trying to give you as broad a perspective as I can just off the top of my head.
Well, and I know I was helping someone kind of think about, apprenticeships, and I went on the list and I was amazed. It was like, there's like a graphic designer apprenticeship,
Exactly.
So it's really the breadth of things. It's things that you do kind of, maybe with your hands, heavy duty kinds of things, but there's also more like office administrative kinds of
medical
jobs.
assistant. That's a good example of something that's kind of a fusion of what you're talking about. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
I had a question.
Go ahead.
It's Joe. I'm assuming the cost of the salary, is that borne 100% by the business or the nonprofit?
Yes, the employer that hires the apprentice,
Right.
paying the apprentice full-time W-2 paid employment. And in just about all the cases, our apprenticeship programs, the businesses are also paying, if not all, the lion's share of those related instruction costs.
Okay, great. I know Doors has something where for the first 3 months, they kind of have like a shared payment, but yours is a full year. So, okay, thank you
Right.
very much.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for asking.
Okay, and if no one else has any other questions, I'm going to thank Jeff, for being on today and
Thank
sharing
you.
with us about apprenticeships. Make sure if you're interested that you visit the website. Jeff's information is there, and I offered Heather. I offered to send out the PowerPoint and the website to people by email. Thank you. And now I want to open it up to community announcements. Does anyone have anything? Oh, so quiet.
It is a
Uh,
quiet Monday.
Is there anything going on?
I have something that I would like to announce if no one else has anything. We were supposed to close our position for May 7th, but is there still time available to apply if you're interested? I'm going to put the job description in the chat box. Accessible Resources for Independence based in Glen Burnie, Maryland, is seeking a full-time temporary staff person to work on COVID-19 vaccine outreach. So I'm going to put the job description in. If you or anyone you know are interested, the pay is $20 an hour. We're looking for someone who works well remotely. The position will probably be mostly remote, about 75%. So that person really needs to be someone who can take initiative and is a go-getter. Hopefully, if you know of someone who is interested, or if you yourself are interested, you can get it in by the end of this week.
And if you live in Baltimore City, the Image Center is also looking for vaccine ambassadors, people who can go out and talk to the community of folks with disabilities and encourage them to get their vaccines. Reach out to Cheryl Grossman. That's SGROSSMAN @imagemd.org.
I have an announcement. Hi, this is Brittany. I work with ARI, but I'm going to put my other cap on. I am Miss Wheelchair Maryland 2021, and I'm having a fundraiser on June 6th at 4 p.m. I'm going to go live. It's the Miss Wheelchair Maryland fishbowl raffle, and you have 3 different options. You can do one for a painting that I've either done myself or family members have donated for $15. The $30 raffle is for the spa basket, and then the $50 raffle is for a movie basket along with a projector and a Roku stick. I have all the details, and I can go ahead and put it in the chat so you can go ahead and see it. It is a Facebook event, so if you're interested, please let me know.
Thank you, Brittany.
And then a reminder I'd like to make that next week is another open live discussion for I Am. If you have topics of interest to the disability community, please come and join us. I'll bring a couple of starter discussion pieces, but mostly this is your opportunity to talk with one another about disability related issues and discussion. If you have questions about disability and about how you've sort of dealt with your life after disability, some of that is really interesting, I think, and helpful. At least it has been for me throughout my life to see how other people manage our disabilities, and I always learn from that. So please come and join us next Monday at 2:00 for I Am Open Discussion.
Yes, and in 2 weeks, we are going to be learning about the new broadband benefit available to people who meet certain eligibility criteria, i.e. Food stamps, Medicaid, et cetera, et cetera. You can get $50 credit for your internet bill. So make sure you join us so you can learn maybe you'll be able to benefit from that.
If you have just really lousy broadband, can you also sign up? Maybe you could sign up, Katie. You could be like, pick me, you know.
I need some internet help. I also need a new water heater. If anyone has one of those, they want to send my way.
Don't talk about that. I'm worried because my hot water heater in the basement here has been making popping noises, and they tell me that's because it's old and you need a new one. So if I'm suddenly standing on my chair and you guys can't see me, it's because there's water everywhere.
You're flooding. All right. Any other last minute community announcements? Because if not, I'll give you 10 minutes of your day back. Oh. Chioki, I don't understand what you mean. Can we pick guest for Image Center?
By that is that what it is, like with the people on the go calls. You mean like, can we pick someone for next week's call? Is that what you're saying?
Kiyoki, why don't you email Mike about that? He's gonna be heading up that chat call.
Good idea. Awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Everyone have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday.